Welcome to another CEO Wisdom podcast. We have Chet Koneczny with us. He's CEO and co-founder at Lax Life, originally from Nova Scotia, now living in Honduras. It's a cool guy, and we're going to talk about lacrosse today. Beautiful sport. I've grown up, played hockey, never played lacrosse, but cool sports, and yeah, very Canadian-ish. I would say. I'd love to talk about the origins of the sports, with which I think are Amerindians slash First Nations. I think they came up with that. And yeah, sports tech, everything in between. This podcast is brought to you by podpire.com. If you want to start your own podcast and scale it, go to podpire.com. Chet, welcome to the pod. Tell me a bit more about yourself and about Lax Life.
Thanks, Charles. Well, Lax Life has been around for 17 years. I know that's a long time in the entrepreneur game, especially haven't had a round of funding yet, but it's been an evolving process for us, starting from an instructional video back in 2008 and kind of evolving into a full-on platform. In 2014, I walked away from pro lacrosse at age of 30 after getting cut 6 times trying to make it. I think I was 26 when I finally made it, but I took on coaching full time in Nova Scotia. And I was like, I just didn't want to have to rewrite my practice plans over and over and my drills. And I got obsessed with documenting all the drills, plays, systems I had learned in the game. And from there, just got a following. I mean, it was free in the beginning and added a subscription, premium pricing strategy, and basically started listening to the customers who were asking for more features. And it's kind of evolved from a web app now to we're in Google Play, the App Store, with an offline accessible app, which basically allows you to work on your plans anywhere in the air, during travel, anywhere in the world. I like to say it brings sports to the four corners of the world. And next time you're up online, you just sync up and all your plans are there and you can share them out with your team.
Interesting. And tell me about the origins of lacrosse. Like I said, I think it's the First Nations that came up with that. So then tell us also about the prominence of the sport in our modern days. I believe the sports was added to Olympics nowadays.
Yeah, well, actually, not just up the road from where you grew up in Ganawage is one of the meeting points where the settlers first started to see and get fascinated by the game that the indigenous folks were playing. The Haudenosaunee is the Confederacy, the Six Nations. And so, I mean, it's got an amazing history. It's the medicine game. It's used to settle disputes between neighboring tribes, in some cases playing for somebody sick in the community, and it's just generally considered good medicine to be, physically active. It was little brother of war, so warrior training. But yeah, it's one of those sports that for settler, it's a bridge into the First Nations communities, and it's one of those things that I try to celebrate as much as possible with what I do. Of course, being careful, walking the lines of cultural appropriation as well. So, I definitely have strong relationships in those communities and done some work with Right to Play and other groups on different reserves and things like that. So, but yeah, I mean, they used to play games with 1,000 players per side that went on for days at a time. The only rule was you can touch the ball with your hands, and it's really a beautiful sport. And as you mentioned, it's on its way to the Olympics in 2028, which is a long time coming. There's 91 countries playing now. I played internationally for the Czech Republic in several world championships. Back in 2007 was the first, and I think there was about a dozen teams. So it's the fastest growing sport, like internationally, North America. It's booming in the US, not so much in Canada, and definitely trying to tackle that US market.
Does it have potential to get NHL big?
Well, actually, one team, the New York Riptide, actually just announced that they're moving to Ottawa, Ottawa Black Bears. And so it's an example of the Senators' ownership taking on the team. And we have that with a lot of the teams in the NLL, which is the Pro Box Lacrosse League. There's also a Pro Field Lacrosse League outdoor. But, you've got like the Calgary Roughnecks are owned by the Calgary Flames. You've got the Vancouver Warriors are owned by the Canucks. So, several teams that have NHL teams also have corresponding lacrosse teams as well.
Interesting. And your business, how do you make money and who do you target precisely?
Well, it's about half B2B, half B2C. So we've had a lot of organic subscribers in the past. I haven't done a great job of marketing. I'm looking to build a team over here. And then I do a lot of B2C with community associations, provincial associations. I've got a few licensing deals, US Lacrosse, Czech Lacrosse Union. So yeah, just trying to grow things that way. And so it's like freemium. So you got all beginner content is free, and then there's a level 1 subscription for that kind of middle content, and then the advanced stuff that gives you access to the drill creation, practice plan creation software is the level 2 subscription. So get about, on average between the two is about a $20 per month subscription. The level 1's $12.99 and the level 2 is $29.99 per month. So I don't know, flirting with all kinds of different ideas, even just removing the subscription altogether and just trying to get as many users as possible. We also have other sports, hockey, basketball, and soccer. So as I build my 24-month runway over the next couple of months here and target a round of funding, that's part of the end goal is to kind of make money in the other sports and getting back to the indigenous roots. Like, would love to just like give lacrosse to the native people who created the game and say, here you go, and then move into kind of the bigger markets. But it's a labor of love. I'm doing a lot of video editing here these days to round out the YouTube channel, which is a big kind of missing link. And hopefully we'll, double, triple the revenue this year as a result.
What have you learned from the First Nations as a human being and an entrepreneur?
The importance of giving back, sharing, like they shared this game with us. And I find that a lot of people in sports try to hide the secrets, and this is more about creating a level playing field for everybody, putting it all out there to make it a more beautiful game. I've learned the importance of, treaty rights and reconciliation and responsibilities that I have as somebody with white privilege, and, to make the world a better place. I mean, when you're in a position like I'm in now, it comes with a lot of responsibility. And, the thing I want to do most is just continue to build a game and be there on the front lines to, bring it to more people and ultimately give back as much as possible to the First Nations who gave it to us.
And what did you learn as an athlete? What skills did you develop that are now very useful as an entrepreneur?
Well, as a coach too, like the values that we're always espousing, I guess, is hard work, discipline, mental toughness, and teamwork, under the umbrella of commitment and sacrifice. So, I mean, I was a blue collar player. I think in a 10-year career, I had 2 goals. One was an empty netter. Like I'm an undersized guy. I was a scrappy stay home defender, and I tried to differentiate myself with the hard work. I mean, I'm a strength and conditioning coach as well with the CSCS. So, that was one thing that set me apart going into training camps, was I was always a step ahead of people. And then, of course, being an entrepreneur, like the discipline and the grind and, staying within your plan and executing your plans and, getting up day to day and doing stuff. Sometimes it's not the glorious work that people think. And then the mental toughness, I mean, the setbacks, the changing and pivoting. As I said, we did a DVD. It was in the area. DVDs were getting pirated. Then we switched to clothing. That wasn't sustainable. Then we built a website to kind of sell the two. And then it just became the platform to house the drills and the subscriptions. So it's kind of that resiliency, that adaptability, and then of course teamwork. Like you can't do it yourself, right? So, I mean, my business partner, he's from the Sanderson family, which is huge in lacrosse, and Early on, we leveraged that, and it was an assumption that our network and everything would take us to the next level, but that wasn't necessarily true. And it was learning how to be a business person, learning our sales process, learning all those little things that well, through an incubator, to be honest, is something I learned in the last kind of year or just over a year. I was in an incubator in Nova Scotia and just hammering my sales process out. And now I know that if I get 1,000 new users to the website, that 0.76 will subscribe. So it's just, how do I get those new users there, and studying the competition? What are they doing? And, I mean, at one point it was like, do I go with the apps, which 50% of the competition don't have because they're all web-based, or do I go with these online drill animators, which people were asking for? And I was like, well, I got 12 years of camp footage that I'm sitting on. So, I mean, I might as well just make the actual drill live instead of the animator. So screw the animator, went for the app, and was spending about 3,500 on per month on dev on software engineering. So now that that's done, I'm starting to be able to save more money and reinvest in different areas, and really, tapping into this digital marketing and trying to learn as much as possible. I mean, I got 10 years of analytics on file, so did a nice study there too, and SEO kind of studies. So just trying to figure all that out. I'm a jock at heart, but I'm a hard worker and willing to figure out the little things. So hope to learn a little bit from you here today.
How do you develop grit?
Developing grit, facing adversity head on, not running away from it. I manufacture adversity as a coach. So I bring adverse situations to my group purposefully in some cases to develop that resiliency that will be needed when the going gets tough, let's say in a national tournament or whatever it is. So I think it's kind of like a fight or flight thing, and a lot of people run away from it, try to stay in their comfort zone and whatever. And I think developing grit is what's growth's all about. Like, you got to be willing to put yourself out there and try new things and fail, and not put your head down and drag your knuckles. You got to just find what works, what doesn't, and accept your failures, admit them, and move on.
Sorry,
Bit of a stall there.
yeah, I was stalled. I came back in the metaverse. How do you deal psychologically with like having two goals and like not being your ideal version of yourself? Because I'm pretty sure you pictured yourself like up there at some point, but how do you deal with that? And then how did you came to terms that you wouldn't be, like a professional athlete at some point? How did you deal with both of these things?
Well, both of my grandfathers played pro hockey, and this was in a time where it was very similar to where lacrosse is now. You needed another job, and you had to be thinking about the future. My one grandfather quit at 25 when he had a kid. He was drafted by the Red Wings, and he couldn't pursue his dreams. And so, I mean, I as much as I did the opposite, I didn't have kids, and I chased it for a long time. I realized that I needed a nest egg, and I needed something that I could fall back on. I knew I was never going to be a Casey Powell, a John Grant Jr., a Paul Rabel, some of these big names in the game. So I separated myself with education, to be honest. Basically, I consider myself the science of lacrosse guy. So everything I do is evidence based, and yeah, and just committing to the process, committing to doing the work. And oddly enough, at 35, I came back out of retirement for 2 years, played a year in Philly, and then I had the victory lap in Halifax when they finally got a team. But again, it is tough. Like, it's a bootstrap, company. All the money that I made playing pro lacrosse, I reinvested into the company. I wasn't out, living lavish and, stuff like that, or going on trips and whatever. I was kind of reinvesting. And so, like, yeah, the past, since about 2018 was when we started the software, building the web app and the actual native apps offline, and that, like, 2020, 2021. And like, I was working as a teacher full time in some cases during in 2019, and 2022, and a substitute teacher part-time. And the goal was always to get to be able to do my own business full-time, which I'm now doing. So that's great. And yeah, it's just you got to really prioritize things. And for me, the next big priority is, aside from cutting these videos and making a run at this season, which starts mid-April, is following up with really getting my numbers straight so I can present things to an investor the right way.
How much are you looking to raise?
Well, the exact number is hard for me to pinpoint right now because I haven't actually gone through all of the numbers to like pinpoint that number. I've had a few discussions with potential partners coming in, and for instance, the last partner I was talking to, he wanted half the business. I've put in upwards of 250 grand of my own money at this point, as well as what I would consider another 500 grand of blood, sweat, and tears in terms of hours. At like 10,000 hours at 50 an hour, let's call it. So, I was trying to broker a deal with him for him to basically be putting in the same if for that 50%, which I thought was low to begin with, and we weren't able to come to terms. So, I mean, for starters, I think I need at least 200 grand to do what I want to do in the short term. But I don't know where it falls at 2 years. I think it's roughly on paper, making $1 million or $2 million a year in revenue by that point. So I just need to really work with a mentor to hammer that number down and not be a sucker to throw that number out there per se, and see what these investors have to say as well, and show them what I have.
So other than raising, what are your goals this year?
The goals are to build out the runway. So basically double my revenue is one goal. So right now I'm at about 20,000 a year, which isn't great, I know. So I'm hoping that with these videos and some of this money that I've been saving now, instead of reinvesting, to push the digital marketing a little bit more, push, Meta, push Google AdWords. And I've had some success with that. I've been, tracking the data. And so really just see where I fall around August when the season ends, enter those numbers into like my execution plan document, and, again, build out my next 24 months from there as to how I'm going to get to that 2 million in revenue.
Love it. And where can people find out more about you, Chet?
Well, laxlife.ca is the website. We're also, as I said, in Google Play and App Store. Just type in Lax Life and you'll find us. Lots of good free content there. Otherwise, you can catch me at the World Championships in Utica, New York in 2024. I'm working with the Team USA women's team. It's great. First time that the women will be there for box lacrosse World Championships. And hopefully at the Olympics. Me and a buddy, we're working on a company called United State Lacrosse out of Texas. We're looking to do a sixes tournament Memorial Day weekend there in Dallas. So you can catch me there for sure at the new full-time lacrosse barn facility, which is looking amazing. And we're looking to take that tournament nationally, make it the biggest tournament. And, if we can become, me and my buddy Ethan Iannucci, he holds a record for the most goals scored in a season per game. If we can, do things the way we think we can on an elite level, me on D, him on O, hopefully Team USA starts taking a look for their coaching staff. Because Canada blew them out 23-9 at the last Sixes Worlds there, and they need to do something different. So, hopefully they're willing to take a chance on a foreigner, essentially.